Yep, Sam Altman is back in the news. He's done it again. He's just offered the United States government $42.6 billion. Not in cash, in OpenAI. And before you think, wow, that's so generous, I need you to sit with this number for 1 second. $42.6 billion is what 5% of OpenAI is worth right now. 5%. The guy who runs the most powerful AI lab on earth is voluntarily handing Washington a stake in his own company. Nobody does that out of the goodness of their heart. So the real question isn't why is he being generous? It's what is he trying to buy? Here's what actually happened. Confirmed independently by several news articles, Financial Times, Altman and other OpenAI executives proposed that the US government take a 5% stake in OpenAI, worth roughly $42.6 billion, of the company's $852 billion valuation from its March funding round. But here's the part almost nobody's talking about. This isn't just about OpenAI. The plan calls for the government to hold 5% of every major American AI company through a single vehicle. That means Anthropic, Google, Meta, all of them potentially handing Washington a slice. Altman's own framing is that this is the fairest way to let the public share in AI's upside. Sounds nice, except it's not new. And it's not the only offer on the table. And the other offer is a lot scarier for these companies. This didn't come out of nowhere. Altman's been quietly pitching versions of this to the Trump administration since early 2025. Trump himself confirmed talks aboard Air Force One weeks ago, describing a setup where the American public becomes, in his words, essentially a partner with these companies. And the government has already got a playbook for this. It took a 10% stake in Intel last year after an $8.9 billion investment, plus positions in IBM and several critical mineral firms. So why is Altman suddenly formalizing this right now in July? 2 words: political blowback. Pressure has been building on OpenAI for months, and there's a second, far more aggressive proposal sitting in Congress that makes Altman's 5% look like a very, very peaceful peace offering. Bernie Sanders has introduced something called the American AI Sovereign Wealth Fund Act, and it doesn't ask nicely. It would impose a one-time 50% stock tax on OpenAI, Anthropic, and xAI. And it would give the government actual voting shares and board seats, real power to block decisions these companies make. Sanders met with Altman directly about it last month. And here's the detail that should stop you in your tracks. Even Steve Bannon, Trump's former chief strategist, has publicly backed pushing for a bigger government stake than what OpenAI is offering. Read that again. Bernie Sanders and Steve Bannon, 2 men who agree on almost nothing, are on the same side of this fight. When the far left and the MAGA right both think Silicon Valley owes the public more, that's not a coincidence. That's a really strong signal. So is Altman's 5% a generous gift to the American people, or is it the smallest possible check he can write to make the 50% tax go away before OpenAI's IPO, which insiders now say could come as early as September? Because there's a crazy conflict over here. And I'm sure some of you have thought about it. The moment the government owns a piece of OpenAI, it also becomes OpenAI's regulator. The same agency deciding whether GPT models are safe would also have a financial stake in that company succeeding. Crazy. Absolutely opposite goals. Critics are already calling this out as a textbook conflict of interest. It's like the fox is literally buying a room in the henhouse. And some economists are going further, drawing a direct line to 2008, warning this creates a too big to fail dynamic. Just imagine, once your tax dollars are riding on OpenAI's stock price, do you believe that Washington will let it fail no matter what it does? It's a crazy situation, and the public isn't exactly cheering this on either. A recent Quinnipiac poll found that 55% of Americans already believe AI will do more harm than good. So the government is about to become a financial partner in an industry that more than half the country doesn't even trust. But I'm not that sure about that part, that AI will do more harm than good. It's still evolving, but let's see. This is happening while OpenAI is racing toward what could be the biggest IPO in history. While Anthropic just had its own models restricted and unrestricted by this exact same administration within the last month, and while Congress is actively debating whether to just tax these companies outright, every one of these threads, the export controls, the IPO, the Sanders bill, Altman's offer, is more or less the same fight. Who is going to own the future of AI? And AI is becoming so big that the future seems to look like it's just AI. The companies building it will own it, or the country it's being built in. Who will get the profits? Who will carry the risk? And who has to stop these companies when something goes wrong? Well, my honest take is a voluntary 5% handshake deal is not accountability. It's a company choosing its own price before Congress can set one for them. If you actually want the public to benefit from AI, you don't let the CEO decide the terms. That's not a partnership. That's a negotiation happening in front of the cameras. So the real one with Sanders' 50% tax quietly loses momentum behind closed doors. So now you tell me, is Altman buying goodwill or he's buying time? Drop your take in the comments about whether you think Washington should take the deal or reject it outright. And if you enjoyed this episode, do like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And I'll see you in the next episode.